Well, hello everybody and welcome. My name is Judith Slater and I am the Trade Commissioner for what we call the EECAN region, which is Eastern Europe and Central Asia for Department of International Trade. I am based in Istanbul in Turkey and I'll explain about the region in a moment. So I've been here for 4 years. So I know Turkey and I know the region reasonably well now. I've been doing this job for that time and it's been a real privilege. The region consists of 14 countries. So it's Turkey, all the former Soviet Union countries, and then Mongolia. So that adds up to 14. The Department for International Trade, we have about 70 staff across that region, and we work with our Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office colleagues also in some of the smaller markets in particular. We focus most of those people in Turkey and in Russia, where we do the majority of our bilateral trade. And the UK does about £40 billion worth of bilateral trade with this region every year. So it's very important to the British economy that we continue to export to here and that those countries continue to export to us. So it's very lively. Just in terms of what's lively, the geopolitics of this region has been very interesting in recent months. It always is, but I would say even more so than normal in recent months, because whilst Turkey and Russia tend to be lively anyway, if you read your Economist, for example, lots going on in both of those countries. But in recent months, we've had Belarus, there's still a standoff going on there. We've also had the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh between Azerbaijan and Armenia, both countries in our region. There's been some protests and a disputed election in Kyrgyzstan, and then Ukraine again is constantly active and interesting. So lots going on always across this region, but as I mentioned, lots of opportunity as well. We have a number of priorities in this region as Department for International Trade. They range from the defence and security sector with a focus on aviation in particular. We have a big interest in energy. Traditionally, that's been oil and gas in places like Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, but increasingly, we're looking much more now at clean energy and renewables. You'll be aware, I hope, that the United Kingdom will be hosting the COP26 climate change conference in Glasgow this time next year, and there's a lot of work going on with that, and that will present opportunities of its own. Healthcare is another area that's big for us in this region. Many of these countries are completely revising and renewing their healthcare sector, building hospitals, and it brings opportunity for UK expertise. Mining and agriculture, both of those two, we have teams because there are so many opportunities across the region and we want to cross-fertilise, excuse the pun, some of those. Very interesting. We do a lot of inward investment work, which isn't really the subject of this call, but just to be aware, there's an awful lot of inward investment, even with what's been going on with us leaving the EU. There's still a lot of interest in investing in the UK, particularly from Turkey and also from Russia. And then coming on to perhaps what's more relevant to this call, we work a lot with Turkish contractors in particular, are very active. They're second only to Chinese contractors around the world. Very good reputation. They do a lot of projects in some far-flung places, and UK Export Finance is keen to help with some of those, and we are keen to bring British businesses into some of those deals. So very exciting and active. There's more to say about sectors like rail, which I think my colleague Ozgur will come on to in a minute. So I'll leave him to talk about the detail of what UK Export Finance has to offer in this region, but just to say that the appetite is strong and has grown a lot in recent times for this region. And that means that my colleague Ozgur, who we've had working for us now for I think 2.5 years or so, he's an ex-banker, and I'll spare his blushes, but very expert and been a really great addition to our team. And I'll leave Ozgur now to say more about what UK Export Finance is doing here and trying to do. And then both of us will be available at the end to answer any questions that you might have. So thank you. And I'm going to pass now to Ozgur.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here with the audience today. Thank you very much, Judith, for your introduction. Yes, I'm also based in Istanbul and the International Export Finance Executive for UKEF for the last 2.5 years. The region, as Judith said, although it says 14 countries, probably spanning all the way from Eastern Europe to the Pacific coast of Russia. But essentially, if you look at where the majority of the trade and majority of the opportunities lie, I believe it's Turkey and Russia, who are both big economies. But obviously, we have an interesting region which is extremely resource rich, and also ripe for infrastructure investments, healthcare investments. So those are also good opportunities to mention. Maybe we should first focus on our sort of largest market, Turkey, where we have a number of opportunities. Turkey is a G20 country. Its economy is around $750 billion worth. So it is, I think, the 17th, 18th, amongst the largest economies in the world. The country is, from the various rating agencies, it is rated as a single B to double B minus. So it is a bit challenging there, but brings us a lot of opportunities for us to be able to support, projects, whether they are large or small, in various markets or various industries. One of the biggest opportunities that have risen in the Turkish market was related to infrastructure, transportation infrastructure, in particular to rail. Turkish government had launched various high-speed lines, some of which were new, some of which were upgrades from existing lines in the last decade. And now they're increasing their plan to invest more in that area. And there are several $1 billion of opportunities in 4 or 5 different segments. And currently, we're very actively involved in 3, 4 of those, some of which are already tendered, and the winning firms are looking for partners and subcontractors and suppliers to work with. And we're carefully considering, whether we can do any of those, helping UK businesses to have a meaningful role in terms of exports into these projects. Transportation infrastructure was always important for Turkey, whether it's motorways, airports, but the focus seems to be more on the railway sector right now. And the way that they will look into financing those will be the government either borrowing on its own or guaranteeing them, none of the PPP or BOT schemes that we've seen. Another interesting area, definitely in Turkey on the rise, is in renewable energy. Turkey is a large, young, and an ever-growing country with a lot of ups and downs, but the overall trend is growing. And it's an industrialized country. It is becoming, especially on the low-cost manufacturing areas or low value-added areas, extremely industrialized, and that requires a lot of energy. And Turkey is continuing its energy conversion initiative. It is hydropower dominated because of topography, but they're trying to move into more wind and solar, as well as geothermal energy. And we're very active in that as part of, as Judith said, part of the UK government's initiative as part of COP26, which is coming next year. We're extremely keen to support renewable energy projects or energy conversion projects, clean energy projects to reach that objective. And we have actually allocated £2 billion of our direct lending capacity into that, which we can use for Turkey as well. Currently, we're trying to pursue a project which is one of the largest in Europe in solar, It's the largest solar farm that is being built, and I think it is the second largest in the world in one single site. So as you see, very active, from the UK businesses opportunities point of view. Another area is healthcare. Large country, young country, but getting older, and as the new times show us, having a good healthcare infrastructure is important. So the government has launched a PPP scheme to increase the number of, or upgrade the number of city hospitals. They have around 25 of them, most of which financed. They are also launching new hospitals, more on EPCF basis. And the Turkish private industry, since healthcare is also a private industry for us, it's somewhat semi-deregulated. Therefore, there are many opportunities on the private sector as well. Defense and aviation for a country, a NATO country, a NATO member, a large military with a lot of aspirations, to have their military power, has tremendous opportunities as well. Turkey has invested a lot on its own defense industry, especially in some areas such as aviation, such as tanks, and such as locally built naval ships. So there are, again, tremendous opportunities to cooperate with UK businesses that are interested in those areas, and we can support them through our scheme. Likewise, civil aviation is an area. Large airline, Turkish Airlines, I think it's one of the largest in Europe now, flies to so many, around 200 plus locations before COVID, and they're still, I think, having a good 70, 80 international locations which they keep their flights open. So they continuously have opportunities that we can, have either airport, aircraft, or others in terms of financing. Something I should probably not forget to mention on Turkey is that they have, probably second to the Chinese, they have very good, very high quality international construction contractors. And they build, from infrastructure to energy, from healthcare to airports, to water, a lot of different areas. There are over 40 Turkish contractors that are in the top 250 construction companies in the world. And they are also very high quality contractors. So we can support them in third countries so that we link them with UK businesses who are gonna provide higher value added services such as engineering, consultancy services, project management services, where the Turkish contractors will do the civil construction work. So that will provide us to finance using that leverage in third markets, using our UK exporter base, UK supply chain. So that is a tremendous opportunity. And as they are very active in Central Asia, in Caucasus region, which are falling within our sort of EECAN jurisdiction, but also in Balkans, in Middle East, both in the Gulf and the rest, as well as North Africa, and more recently, Sub-Saharan Africa. So those opportunities were very open to follow and also link up with our fellow country directors who are also active in those regions. Maybe a few more words around the region. As I mentioned before, the region is extremely resource rich. So that keeps us probably focused more, or so far has focused more on the oil and gas opportunities, mining opportunities, as Judith pointed out. I guess it will probably transform itself to more opportunities in renewables, because some of the countries in the region have shown interest in building renewable energy, such as one is Kazakhstan, the other one is Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. We are also pursuing numerous opportunities there. Again, it's an interesting region. You have transition economies, you have industrialized nations, and you have emerging markets in that region. So there's an interesting hodgepodge of different sizes and scales of economies. So that makes us busy. We follow in Ukraine, for instance, different projects in healthcare, in money services, in construction equipment and in renewable energy. But at the same time, we follow, fertilizer projects in Turkmenistan. We follow digital healthcare projects in Uzbekistan. We follow PPP healthcare projects in Kazakhstan. So, and mining projects in Mongolia. So the region is extremely vivid, extremely active. We have doubled capacity for most markets, more than doubled. And we have, I think, 20-25 billion pounds of capacity. If you add up all these, nations, 14 different nations, we have capacity for most of those. And we're going to be happy to have an opportunity and a discussion where we can look at. So in a nutshell, EECAN is an interesting region. We have appetite for the region, and we see that due to the different levels of development in the region, there are tremendous opportunities, not only in energy, as one could first guess, but also in infrastructure, in healthcare, in digital economy, in renewable energy, in energy conversion, and in defense and aviation. So with that, I would like to probably end here for the time being and look for your questions in this session. Thank you very much.